getting those repaired.
We were in the middle of a conversation.
I understand.
We're just doing a thing.
That's cool. What are you doing?
Did you see my Instagram story?
You know, I don't know how to look at Instagram stories.
What's going on?
Is that Pete Gas?
Yeah, it's Pete Gas.
Yeah, it's Pete
That's
Gas,
Pete
man.
Gas
It's
right
Pete
there?
Gas, man. We
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Pete Gas.
From the Mean Street
From
Posse.
the Mean Street Posse.
Did you? Why is that Pete Gas?
Wrestling.
All right, welcome back to Rasslin with Nick Turani. I'm Nick Turani. I'm here with other Nick. Nick,
I'm Nick.
thank you for joining me. Before we get into it, let's get into the ad. You know, we got to get through that. None? Figured. If there's any seltzers that want to sponsor us, I think they're all delicious. So we saw Shane McMahon tear his pec.
His quad.
His
actually.
quad.
Yeah.
Okay.
It runs in the family.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So we saw him tear his quad, and Big Cat tweeted out, "Where's Pete Gas?" You know where he is?
Yeah, I kind of do.
He's right here with us on Wrestling. Pete, what's up, my man?
What's going on, guys?
From the
Glad to
mean
be on.
streets of Greenwich.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And are you in Greenwich right now? Is that
No,
bulletproof
I'm
glass
down-
behind you?
I live in Florida now.
Oh, okay. You got out of the mud.
It's a lot easier on the joints when you're living in Florida. So I'm down in the West Palm Beach area.
Oh, okay. Very nice, very nice. So kick it right off. How are we? How we doing? How we
We're
feeling?
good.
Yeah?
No, we're always hurting, but we're good.
Always hurt?
I just had surgery on this tricep repair, and I have to have this one in the middle of June. So had a little bit of a double tear on my triceps, so I'm getting those repaired.
We were in the middle of a conversation.
I understand.
We're just doing a thing.
That's cool. What are you doing?
Did you see my Instagram story?
You know, I don't know how to look at Instagram stories.
What's going on?
Is that Pete Gas?
Yeah, it's Pete Gas.
Yeah, it's Pete
That's
Gas,
Pete
man.
Gas
It's
right
Pete
there?
Gas, man. We
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Pete Gas.
From the Mean Street
From
Posse.
the Mean Street Posse.
Did you? Why is that Pete Gas?
It's just a thing we put together.
Yeah.
You don't host wrestling with Nick Turani. It's wrestling. Wrestling is with Brandon Walker. Wrestling is my show.
It's.
You have a show right now. You're live.
Did you leave your other show?
No, it hasn't started yet.
Ah, okay.
Can I talk to Pete Gas? Let me talk to Pete
Oh,
Gas.
no, well, we have questions for him.
And violent.
Hey, Pete Gas.
What's going on? I heard. Are you leaving this show for Nick? That's what I heard.
Well, I heard.
I'm just going by what I said, man. I don't have heat with me.
I heard you're an asshole, Pete.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
Get that out of the way.
Go ahead and ask him the question.
So the thing is, Brandon,
Yeah.
they need sponsors on this show, and you're poison. Your sponsorship poison.
And you're
Just let me run one show.
Didn't you run off Felix Gray Glasses by calling him Field Dix Gay?
That is their fault for calling them. It sounds too similar.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that happened, right?
Pete, I'm sorry, we had to hash out some
You're
personal
good.
stuff. Do you want to go tit for tat on
No, you start with the first tit, please.
Look at all the tits I have on here.
That's a lot of tits.
A lot of tits.
Speaking of tits, boy, when you were wrestling, there were a lot of tits back then
A lot
too,
of
huh?
tits back then in the Attitude Era.
Always. Someone was always flashing in the crowd.
Did the posse get pussy?
Yeah, we got called pussy too.
Ah.
So
Now, I had a posse of my own growing up.
you did.
Yeah, so I'm from Bethlehem, West Virginia.
Yep.
We called ourselves Deathlehem because it was dangerous as well, mean streets as well. It was me.
Mm-hmm.
I was the leader, and then we had Argyle Josh.
Mm-hmm.
He only wore Argyle.
Yeah.
We had Cleveland Gaines. He was black, still is. And we had my big Chinese friend, 6'11", Vincent Gu. All of us together looked like the cover of a fucking health book. You guys were all white, but I sent you a picture of our posse.
That's what that was?
Yes, that was my posse.
Okay.
We all wore
Okay.
chains with a different scented air freshener on the end of it. I was black ice.
Was that in the picture?
Not in the picture. Those were tucked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Very true. How would you compare my posse to yours?
Weak.
Weak. I don't know if you'd survive a day in Bethlehem.
I don't think you would survive a minute in Greenwich.
A minute in Greenwich? I couldn't afford it.
This is true.
Brandon, did you see my posse?
No, I didn't see your posse, but I've heard the legendary Vincent Goo. The
Vincent
6'11"
Goo.
Yeah, I've heard about Vincent Goo. I've never heard about Cleveland Gaines.
He was our Cleveland Gaines, yeah.
And
Why don't you show him?
Who
Why don't you show him the picture of your posse?
let me see your posse.
So I got
Last time I asked a girl this, I got sent to HR.
so you could guess which one Cleveland
Well,
is.
Vincent Goo wasn't 6'11" at this
Vincent
point.
Goo was 6'11".
All right, it's a decent posse.
It's a decent ass posse.
It's not a Mean Street posse. It's a decent posse.
What makes it what does it need to be as intimidating as a Mean Street posse? You think you don't think it's white enough.
I
You don't think it's fucking white?
I don't know. I don't know how you improve a posse. I've never had a posse.
But you
myself.
guys inspired that. We were all wrestling fans with the sweater vests, and Argyle Josh only wore Argyle.
Did you get tired of the sweater vest?
Had to have.
Yeah. After a while, we kind of wanted to change it up, and that was our signature thing. And then there were certain things they didn't want us to change. One was I wasn't allowed facial hair. I wasn't allowed tattoos. I wasn't certain things. I had to be the clean cut one. Rodney and Joey Abs got to do whatever they wanted. As far as that whole, Rodney had a different haircut. I felt like all the time.
But why were you the clean cut guy?
Because Shane wanted to have one clean cut guy, and that was me. No facial hair. I couldn't grow a goatee back then.
It's like the Yankees.
That's right. I was the.
So would you have gone
Yankee.
full tattoo, full beards if you could have?
I would have had some kind of facial hair.
You have to go?
Yeah.
Why?
I haven't
You're
met-
pissed off.
No, I'm not. I'm not pissed off. But you're just gonna ruin my fucking brand. You're gonna ruin my show. I would
How
have.
am I gonna-
I would have given my left arm to talk to Pete Gas. But you guys got him. You guys fucking talk to him. I don't care.
Oh, Jesus.
You have heat.
But you had to be the clean cut one.
Yeah, that was just Shane's advice. He wanted to keep that consistent. But to answer the question, yeah, after a while, so we had khaki pants for the longest time.
Yeah.
And it's at one point it was like one of us was blowing out the crotch in those things every week. Someone on Raw would blow out their crotch in those khakis. So we had to go to something substantial. So we actually used here's a plug, Lucky Jeans.
So you're friends with Shane, and he's a big adrenaline junkie, is he not?
He is a huge adrenaline junkie. Yes.
Do you ever join on any of those escapades? No.
I do not. No, I don't. I don't. He's
Never peer pressured or
no, never at all. Never at all. There were stories about us when we were in high school and in early years of college where actually freshman year of college, we were at one of the other football players had a party who we graduated with. His name was Will Hunting, and he has a party, and I'm there, and I'm trying to talk to a girl. And
his name was Will Hunting?
True story, Will Hunting.
Like
Yep.
the film.
Like the film. Yep.
Okay.
So he has a party. I'm talking to a girl, and all of a sudden, Rodney, Shane, Billy Piro, bunch of guys walk in, and they had enough of the party at one point or another, and they're like, "Come on, we're gonna go. We're gonna go to a bar." And because we all had fake IDs back then and everything, one of the other guys on the team was able to somehow get us all fake IDs. So they wanted to go to a bar, and I didn't want to go. So they literally picked me up. Each had a limb, carried me to to Shane. Shane had the Lincoln, their maid's Lincoln Town Car, which was mint green.
Okay.
They threw me in the back, and we're all in the back. And now we're on I-95 heading south to Portchester, New York. And a bunch of the guys decide that they're gonna get up on the hood of the car doing about 80 miles an hour on the highway and hanging on. So Rodney's hanging on, and I'm watching him, and he had a dress shirt on with a pocket here, and that's where he used to keep his dip, his tobacco.
Yeah.
So the dip comes out, and it's making its way. It's going to go off the hood, onto the road, and Rodney's hanging on. He goes like this
To
and he
grab the
grabs
dip.
and I'm like, this guy's gonna. I go, I'm just looking in the back, like, what the fuck, But anyway, so then he goes and Shane has his turn and all Billy has his turn. And by the time we get there, and they're all laughing, everyone's laughing. And I'm just like, man, you guys are, I'm laughing.
Yeah,
but I'm like,
right.
in my mind, I'm like, I'm not that fucked up. So I'm like, anything's going to happen here. But that's just the way everyone kind of, did things.
So you never did that, right?
No.
So that's why they chose to make you the clean cut one.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of keep my head on my shoulders.
How did Shane pitch it to you guys? Like, he's like, was it just like, hey, we have this night on Raw. I need you guys there, like, tonight? Like,
So
how'd that come about?
Rodney and I always trained at the WWE. Shane had given us keys to the building. We could have went there any time of day or night, whatever. So we'd go work out. And Shane would know that we were always there, whether he'd see our cars or walk by and passing and going to the gym for whatever reason. And he said to us one day, he's like, Friday, come to my office around 6 o'clock. I gotta ask you guys for a favor. Now he says favor, right? So we go there and he talks about how, just like this, he's talking and he's like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. Sunday morning around 10 o'clock, I want you to go to the studio and meet Chris Chambers, and I want you guys to dress preppy. And he said, here's the script. And just like that, threw it out. He says, fuck the script. I want you to talk about how when we were younger, getting in fights, smashing mailboxes, all that. I didn't do any of those.
So these are the famous
stuff.
vignettes.
Yes,
You're talking about
right.
the vignettes right now, right?
Yeah, the vignettes. So he said, we're going to cut it up, and then you guys are going to be on Monday Night Raw. They're going to start showing some vignettes. So Rodney comes to my house at 8 o'clock that morning, Sunday morning. And long story short, we drink a 12-pack of beer each and then go over to the studio.
Was that for the nerves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had never done anything like that before.
You're right.
But you knew you knew the world he was in, right?
Yeah, we knew the world, but
you never expected to get the call,
Right.
Like being so
when
close to
you're
them.
on the camera, though, it's different.
Yeah. But were you completely blindsided? Like, oh shit, he's asking us to do this. Like you never. It was never in the back of your mind.
Nick, Shane has always done that, even to this day. So like, even when I went back for the 15-year anniversary,
Yeah.
Shane called me 6 days earlier and says, hey, do you want to wrestle in a battle royal? And I was like, yeah. He's like, because he kept everything kayfabe. And I mean, that's the way his life is. And believe me, I think it's funny because it's like one of my favorite things. Kayfabe, I wish would never die, unfortunately, because of social media. It's gotten close.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where he lives that. Like that's, he always kept us guessing.
So even so WrestleMania 32, right? Like he's the guy that's gonna take on like Taker. Like he doesn't key you in on that at all? Like
Nope.
Nothing. So you're finding out when everyone else is.
So here's a true story. Remember JJ? Did you get to meet JJ on Barstool?
JJ.
Yeah, JJ was he's
Oh
got a
yeah,
raise-
yeah.
Bronx.
Remember JJ?
Covered Yankees.
Yankees.
The Yankees guy.
Yankees. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I'm a big Met fan, so whatever.
JJ calls me the morning of, and he says to me, Gas, I got a question for you. He goes, rumor has it Shane's coming back on Raw tonight. Can you confirm or deny this? So I said to JJ, first of all, I was pumped. I have goosebumps now telling the story because I thought it was cool as hell. And I said, JJ, I'll tell you what. If he's coming back, I don't know about it, and I certainly wouldn't tell you. And I said, if I knew about it, I wasn't going to tell you anyway because I'm not ruining the story. I don't want it coming out beforehand. That's why it's kayfabe,
Yeah.
So I was curious for myself, so I called Shane right after I got the phone with JJ. And Shane was driving down in Manhattan. I said, and now the show was in Detroit that night. So I said to Shane, I go, what are you doing? And he says, I'm bringing an instrument to my son at school. So I said, all right, how's everything going? What are you up to? He's like, nothing. I'm just doing this, blah, blah, blah. We're talking a little bit, shooting the shit. Next thing you know, he says, hey, I got to go. I got to the school. I got to bring my son's instrument inside the school. So I said, okay. And I'm like, he's lying. I know he's lying.
You could tell.
He was just too smooth with it.
Yeah.
He was doing his best. But there was a gut feeling.
He was also like at that time. Were you like seeing him at this point, because he was absolutely like shredded ripped for that. Like he had to have known like I'm gonna be on TV in front of 100,000 people live at AT&T.
So it's the saddest thing about all of us, the posse, and all of us, is that you know, those friends you have that you can go years without talking, or months without seeing or talking, and it just picks up right where it left off, right? And that's the way our relationship is with all of us. So, I mean, even Shane's out of everybody, Shane's best friends with Billy Piro the most right now, where they talk the most often.
Right.
But even he hasn't seen him in a while. It's just because, you know, Shane's off doing so many different things and venturing into different businesses and all that. So you just don't have the time. Plus now they live up in New York. I live in Connecticut. I mean, I don't live in Connecticut. I live in Florida. You know, no one lives in Connecticut anymore. So it's like we're all over the place now. So, but
that's some breaking news to all the wrestling fans out there. The Mean Street Posse no longer resides.
No longer in
no
Greenwich.
No longer in Greenwich. That's exclusive for us.
That and the streets are really not that safe now. Just so you know.
Yeah, genuinely.
Yes. So, but now, that night, the night of Monday Night Raw, I go over to whatchamacallit. I get with my wife. We're watching television. Sure enough, first segment, Vince is going to present Stephanie with some type of award, and Shane's music hits, and he comes out, and my phone just blows up like you know, and it was the greatest thing, and I just knew I was so happy for him to come back, just like I was this recently. And you know, I didn't know anything about WrestleMania, and I was so happy for him because his love for the business is just, you know, I think anyone could see that. You know, like, you don't have to know Shane to know how much he loves that business.
Well, whenever he gets in the ring and he gets the ovation, he always gets choked up. And you can tell, like, you watch wrestling long enough, you know what real tears are. You know when someone's trying.
Absolutely.
Even as a fan, you can see that. When you could just see it, like in his neck, like he's gets that red face, and in his eyes, he just can't. And the crack in his voice is very distinct when he gets. It's like, "What's up?" Wherever they're from, yeah.
Right. And his eyes, I mean, I just, you know, you just know that he's, you know, how much he loves it and how much he appreciates it. And I know the night in Detroit was a very special moment for him because it had been so long. And even, you know, like we said, WrestleMania, you could just see it in his face that he gets, it means a lot to him.
Yeah.
You know,
and you
know, that whole thing with going into a ring, you know, there's a rush that you get, you know, you get through there, and then, you know, you hear about the stories about how people are able to continue and do stuff even after they've been hurt, and you know stuff. Well, something like what Shane had was brutal. That's hard. I don't know how Triple H did it that one time when he tore his quad.
Yeah, I don't know. He went like another 13 minutes or something like that.
I mean, God, you know, that's a testament. But you know, you go and you look at how these guys are, and it's like, you know, and you get the rush, and it's just, it gets you through the night, you know, gets you through the match. And then, you know, usually when you're in the car driving to the next city is when you're like, damn, that hurt, you know, stuff like that. So
segueing off of you traveling city to city, I'm sure you've been to some shitholes. Have you ever been to Mississippi?
Yeah, actually, so at one point they sent us to Memphis to train, and we used to have to wrestle at Old Miss every Wednesday night in like a pool hall. And you know, we're in Mississippi State. That's no disrespect to anyone that went to there, but it's a dump. You know, I'd rather go.
We know.
Miss.
Ole Miss is probably
Ole Miss
a little
had
bit
prettier girls.
Yeah.
You know, just a higher. It was more like a Mean Street Posse type thing. You know, higher education.
Blondes, big tits. Mississippi State, just a bunch of wildebeests. Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like you had to milk that Mississippi State chicks. You know, no disrespect. Back then, I'm sure it's different now. But you never know.
Maybe not. Probably not.
Yeah.
But no, you pretty well traveled. Is there any back to the shitholes aside from Mississippi? Like, do you ever just remember getting somewhere just like, what am I doing, man? Like,
well, go back to Mississippi. Like, you know, I think there were more. No, there weren't. I was gonna say there was more teeth than people in the crowd, but there wasn't.
It's
there
tough.
was more people than teeth.
More people than teeth. You
brutal.
never want that ratio.
No.
ratio.
I mean, you get, you know, you look out into the crowd, and so a funny story about that.
Yeah.
we did a story. I was what's his name? So this is what happens when you get hit in the head. You forget things. R-Truth.
Oh, yeah.
He and I have a match in Mississippi one night, and we had the same match in Arkansas. But this one, he had a great line. He would look into the crowd. I was running babyface. He was running heel, and he would look into the crowd in Mississippi, and he'd look at him and he'd say, "What, you been chewing rocks or something?"
Yeah, that's what it
And
looks
I,
like.
the first time I heard it, I just went out of character. I mean, I just
He's
broke
still and
down.
he's still going today too.
Yeah.
R-Truth, man.
I mean, God bless him.
And he looks like identical as he did like 20 years ago. He's just
Yes, it's unbelievable. He doesn't age. It's amazing. God bless him.
Having an eyebrow piercing, though, it's got to be a liability. It'd be scary.
in the
Joey
ring.
Abs lost
Yeah.
his.
Joey Abs did?
Joey Abs had one, and it got ripped out. He went to
Oh,
slam someone. He did it twice. He did it to his earlobe. He went to slam someone, and the buckle hooked onto it and ripped his ear off. Ripped the earring out, and we super glued his ear back that night.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Truly are from the mean streets.
Yeah.
If you're super gluing.
If you could
your
do
ear
that.
back, man.
God damn. Not for me, dude.
yeah. That happened to me in Puerto Rico. I got my head split open, and for me to go back, go to like the hospital in Puerto Rico, it would have taken hours just to get stitched up. So my then girlfriend, she just squirted some crazy glue in there, and it forms an instant scab, and good to go.
Keep going.
So,
You scarred up from that?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you watch that show recently in Puerto Rico? Did you check any?
I did. Loved it.
What a crowd.
great show. Yeah.
I mean, that was
So
incredible.
that crowd's like that all the time. I think you're going to start seeing them run there way more often now.
We said it right after it wrapped. It's like just have Raw there every week, and I'd watch Raw every single week. I mean, they were even more so than like the UK crowd. They did not stop. They went from bell to bell, and that's rare. You usually have some lulls in between where there's some down periods because the crowd just gets exhausted at some point, but they did not. I mean, they're singing like when Carlito hit, then Savio hit.
Yeah.
It was, and then it was like, well, how are they going to close this with Brock and Cody? And they still came for that one too. It's crazy.
That's unbelievable. There was never like a downtime for any match. It was great. I mean, they were really into it. Savio trained me while I was there, so I got some great education there. Yeah, I've been very fortunate with the people that have trained me over the years that I got a good education. So it's pretty cool.
You have a book.
Yes.
Is that correct? Highlighting these experiences or going into depth?
Yes. So it starts back from when I first met Shane.
Yeah.
And it goes right through to his match against Undertaker at WrestleMania, in WrestleMania 32.
Yeah, spoiler.
So
I've read the book. It's a great book. So if anyone wants to
Appreciate
find
it.
that, yeah.
It's an easy read.
Like
so.
I said, man, I'm a Mean Street Posse guy. I was rocking the
Thanks.
sweater. I went to Catholic school, so it was just meant to be. Like it was just part of the uniform, but no one knew that I was just repping the posse. They just thought.
Yeah, you were wearing it because you wanted to. They were forced to.
Yeah, like I was cool. They were losers.
Oh man, you have anything else?
I guess my last question is, we're trying to get people to watch more pro wrestling. Like that's Nick's mission.
It's
literally why he gets up
life
in the morning
mission.
now. Yeah,
Life goal. Yeah.
pretty much. So you come from the greatest era in professional wrestling. I don't even think people can say what they want, but the bottom line is, you knew when Raw hit, in the late 90s, early 2000s, that you were talking about it the next day. You were calling your friend. Why should someone be a pro wrestling fan today in 2023? And just what do you love about it, man? Just bring people in.
There's a lot of things to love about it now. You have, you could start right with the women.
Yeah.
The women alone. I mean, the matches are unbelievable, man. I mean, they have this. They're so athletic. Their matches are put together, and they're, no disrespect to anyone back in the Attitude Era. There was a lot of TNA and all that stuff, and but these girls now, look at Charlotte and Becky, and I mean, you could name any of them. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Just out of this.
Unbelievable athletic ability. I mean, it's just it's so impressive, and I'm not going to say guys would change the channel because they wouldn't back in the day when a girl, but everybody's so good. You know, like you're gonna see stuff like, you know, stuff that like S.A. Rios would do back in the day, right? I mean, like stuff like high flying stuff. The girls are doing it now, and it's like it like
Right,
tonight.
like you watch some of the lucha matches back in the day, and then now you
Yeah.
fast forward, you see a Sasha Banks, you know, a Mercedes Moné
Right.
now, but you watch them, and you're like, they're doing the same stuff, and they're doing it at a high level, and they've got the
Exactly.
ability, they can promo, they got the gear, they got the star power, and it's just, you know, like there's just so many different reasons to watch it right now.
Yep.
It always gets compared to the Attitude Era. And you got someone like myself, I'm gonna be 38 in like a month. And
Right.
for me, it's like you got to find a new way to appreciate it, and that's kind of why me and Nick have linked up, because we're just trying to bring in this new audience that, you know, other people just haven't been as successful doing.
I would have never guessed 38 for you. You look damn good.
Thank you.
Moisturize.
Thank
Have
you.
to.
Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean the Attitude Era was so special, and I think it just made it just brought the business to a whole different level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And you
mean,
were a big part of that. Believe it or
well, I
not,
appreciate
like,
that.
because
just-
you were in like sure, you played your role, but you're talking prime time spots on Monday night. Like if you're rolling next to Shane O'Mac and you're rolling down, you're not going down there for nothing, right? You guys are right in the middle of the biggest stuff, which is why, like, you say Mean Street Posse to this day, everyone knows who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that's the craziest thing.
And
So
it's the best, man.
but when you hear, so it's funny because when you hear people talk about the posse, it's either like those guys sucked, right? Or people loved it. People loved the music. Everyone loved our entrance music, right?
Yeah.
Not that we had anything to do with that. But the reason why I wrote that book, and I appreciate your kind words for that, was because it gives people hopefully an understanding of why the people that liked us, I think they get it.
Yeah,
Right.
man. You guys, to me, are pro wrestling. Like, you didn't
But-
even have to, the bell didn't even have to ring for me to be invested in what you were doing.
Right, but the thing that was really special about it was Vince took Rodney and I, we had no experience. He put us in the ring with the best of the best. And he said, put on a show, don't hurt my guys, don't get hurt, and do the best you can. And you know, like then we're only supposed to be there a few weeks. And we lose the loser leave town match, and it becomes the highest rated segment in cable history.
Right. It's crazy.
Right? So Vince is no dummy. So Vince is like, there's something here, right? So now he takes us and says, all right, now you got to learn how to wrestle. And every week we went to live television, threw our bodies around. Dr. Tom Pritchard, God bless him, because we potatoed him so many times. He was teaching us to do like a spot here, a spot there, and then we would be able to incorporate it into a match. So we would do TVs, then we'd go and learn. So the thing about it is, it's such a hard business, and it pays such a toll on your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we did it without any training,
Right.
or any experience.
That's
we
a
looked-
unique experience in itself, learning on the biggest
Right.
stage.
But that's where the magic is. With us. Speaking of magic, the thing it made it so special is that we were able to do this, and with no training, and it's never been done before.
Right.
Vince has never put anyone in the ring without experience. It'll never happen again, especially with Orlando and the Performance Center. I mean, look at like Jake Paul and Bad Bunny, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they also went over to Orlando and trained their asses off.
Right.
Like we were there.
You were just kids in your 20s thrown in the ring in front of the biggest stage, on the biggest stage,
Right.
in front of the biggest audiences with the top guys. And I think that just speaks to, you just love wrestling, and we love
Yes.
wrestling.
A lot.
Yeah.
So, Nick, do you want to take us out?
Guys, thank you so much. Thanks to Pete. We really appreciate you, man. Check out his book, easy, good read. And that's Rasslin, baby.
Rasslin, that's wrestling. Rasslin, that's wrestling.